What causes leggy seedlings in a greenhouse? Today we're going to talk about that and what you can do about it. Let's go. So here we have some French thyme that we direct sowed into these trays here, and what you'll notice is that some of these are starting to get a little bit leggy. Now that might strike you as odd because these are out in a greenhouse, and a greenhouse is exposed to the sun, and the sun is so bright that normally plants would get leggy in like a grow room where you have your light too far away from your plants, or your light isn't strong enough, or maybe you don't have your light on enough hours. There's a lot of reasons why your plants get leggy indoors, and we have lots of videos on that. But outside in a greenhouse, it gets a little bit more tricky to kind of figure out what's going on. And so in today's episode, I'm kind of going to explain all the different reasons why your plants might be getting leggy, because it can be really frustrating to sow a whole flat like this, see them grow, and then realize, what's going on? They look so stretchy and leggy, and they shouldn't be because we're outside. So the first reason is, as I just said, it's too cloudy. Now there's nothing you can do to control this. It's really out of your control. But if you start your seeds in a really cloudy environment, or your season is just very cloudy, you could do everything right from your soil to your starting time to the temperature in the greenhouse. And if it's cloudy, there's nothing you can do. And so ultimately that is up to Mother Nature to decide if you're going to have enough sunlight or not. If it's super cloudy, your plants are going to be stretching for that light even outdoors. Second thing that you can do is you can actually change up the plastic on your greenhouse. See, this plastic here actually has light filtering, so it's going to actually kind of soften the light. You're going to actually get about 20 to 30% light reduction from softening plastic. We went with softening plastic though because it has a longer life, and because it kind of has a tendency to diffuse the light to reduce any harsh spots that can actually burn leaves. But if you go with like a clear plastic is, because you can look up here and see, you can't see the sun. The sun's out today. It's behind some clouds, but the sun is out, but you never know it. It looks like it's the cloudiest day ever. And that's because we have this diffusion plastic on our greenhouse. So there's some benefits to having it, but on a cloudy day, it's gonna hurt you to have that plastic. So choosing the right type of plastic and kind of knowing what you're going for. If you're in a climate that has cloudier days, maybe don't consider that. If you have a lot of sun, maybe go with the diffusion, but just know that obviously there's some benefits to both. But that's the second reason, is the plastic you chose. Third reason is it's just too hot in the greenhouse. These greenhouses, they get hot. If you don't have proper ventilation, or if your sides don't roll up and you can't vent that extra heat out, they don't like it. Plants don't typically like anything hotter than about 75 degrees. Any warmer than that, especially for a seedling, means they're gonna get leggy. Legginess is just a sign of stress. And so that stress is basically shown by them stretching to kind of try to run away from their current growing conditions. And if it's too hot, they're gonna do that. So make sure you have proper ventilation. On our greenhouse, we have walls that go up, we have side walls we can roll up, and we also have louvers that we can open to let any of that excess heat out, so we can keep our greenhouse right around 60 to 65 degrees, which is perfect for seedlings to grow. All right, the fourth reason why your seedlings might be getting leggy in a greenhouse is they're just getting too dry. As I said, any stress is not good. It's going to cause them to get leggy and try to kind of run away from that stress. And seedlings especially, they like lots of soil moisture. Not so much that they're like swampy and drowned, but if they get too dry, they are going to start to get leggy. And especially in these small little cells here, outside, they can dry out really fast. So we constantly have to keep a pretty close eye on these seedlings to make sure they're not drying out too much. But these ones here, you can see here, these cells, you got to kind of sometimes have to spot water because you don't want to overwater, but some of these cells are totally fine. But if you happen to miss a cell, or you happen to not water as much, that cell can dry out, and that can cause some leggy seedlings, absolutely. The other thing too is the soil you choose can dry out. Some soil will dry out much faster than others. Our soil dries out at a pretty good pace, but if you're finding it's really drying out very fast, maybe consider adding some vermiculite, which helps to hold on to water. Maybe consider adding some coco coir, which really holds on to water nice and well. Or maybe consider going up to a slightly larger cell size. The larger the cell, the more soil in the cell, and the longer it's going to take to dry out. So dry soil can absolutely cause leggy seedlings even outdoors. So the fifth and final reason is one that we're not using because we don't use them in the greenhouse, but that's a heat mat. If you use a heat mat to keep your plants warm throughout the night when it might get colder, if you have seedlings that are growing, they don't like the heat. I've talked about this a lot, but it's a big mistake I see a lot of gardeners making is when they have these seedling trays, they say, well, you know, it might be cold at night. I'm going to give them some supplemental warmth by throwing a heat mat on. Problem is, the plants can sense that, and a heat mat can get up to 80, 85 degrees, no problem at all. And again, like I said, that threshold for us is no warmer than about 65 degrees. At 70, 75 degrees, those seedlings are going to start to get pretty stressed, and they're going to start to get leggy on you. So if you have a heat mat, take it and unplug it or move it off the tray. They really don't need it once they germinate. Even if it gets cold at night, there's other ways to keep your plants warm than by a heat mat, because a heat mat is very directional. The heat does not affect the air, it only affects below the soil. And so as that soil heats up, the plant is basically like, how do I get out of here? That's where it starts to get leggy. So those are the 5 really simple ways that your plants can be leggy in a greenhouse. We get asked this all the time. So I know this wasn't a long episode, but it's really important that you know this, because growing in a greenhouse can be incredibly rewarding. I mean, look at all this amazing space we have. Like, so much room for activities. And so in a greenhouse, you can grow so many amazing plants, and this, you know, you're using the sun, meaning it's like really inexpensive, no electricity cost, and tons of space. And so growing in a greenhouse is awesome. But if you don't know what you're doing, or you start to have some conditions that cause stress, you can definitely have some leggy seedlings. And leggy seedlings don't transplant the best. So once you see leggy seedlings, sometimes it's best just to restart, because you can't really, sometimes they're not salvageable if they get too leggy. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you all learned something new. If you did, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and let me know in the comments box down below if this video helped answer any questions that you might have. So as always, this is Luke from the MIgardener channel, reminding you to grow bigger. Take care. Bye.